Searching the MeSH database. To understand what the MeSH database is, you must first understand what MeSH stands for. MeSH stands for Medical Subject Headings. Each article in PubMed is read by a professional indexer at the National Library of Medicine. The indexers assign subject terms to each article based on what the article is about. Having these subject terms added to each article record greatly facilitates your ability as a searcher to find what you're looking for. For example, authors do not always use the same words to refer to the same thing, which can make it very difficult to do a comprehensive search on a topic. As a basics example, think of all the ways one could refer to teenagers. Teen, teens, adolescent, adolescents, adolescents. Then there are issues such as British spellings of words, and words like AIDS that will retrieve both articles about the disease AIDS, along with hearing aids, visual aids, walking aids, etc. The addition of subject headings to article records helps address many of these search issues. The MeSH database is the official list of standardized subject headings used by PubMed indexers. So you can use the MeSH database to look up terms and try to find the most appropriate MeSH term or terms to use for your search. To access the MeSH database from the PubMed homepage, click the link under More Resources. Notice that while this screen looks very similar to the main PubMed search page, it says MeSH in the top left. We are not searching for articles yet when we're in the MeSH database. We're looking up terms. Let's look up a few words to see how it works. Let's say we want to find out the best MeSH term to use for muscle tear. We can start by entering muscle tear into the search blank and clicking search. No items found. Don't be discouraged if the MeSH database doesn't immediately find a matching MeSH term for your keyword. Sometimes you have to rethink how to phrase your term or divide it up into separate terms. Clicking on the details link when you get 0 results can also be helpful because you can see how the MeSH database translated your search behind the scenes. In this case, we can see that the MeSH database has tried combining a number of MeSH terms and text words to try to suggest a MeSH term for our keyword phrase. Don't let this screen confuse you. You're only interested in the words that have the MeSH tag after them because those are MeSH terms. Since the MeSH database didn't find a match for the phrase muscle tear, we will probably have to separate our keyword phrase into 2 different concepts, muscle and tear. Since we now know that muscles is a MeSH term, we can do a search for that term alone. Here we have a list of MeSH terms that either have the word muscles in them or in their definition. Sometimes you can find more or different MeSH terms suggestions by searching for the singular or plural version of a term. Let's search for muscle now just to see if we can find any other helpful suggestions. This found quite a few more MeSH terms, but from scanning the first page here, it looks like muscles is still going to be the best MeSH term for our purposes. Once we decide on a MeSH term, the next step is to move it to a PubMed search. To do this, all you have to do is check the box next to the term and then click Add to Search Builder. You can then click Search PubMed to perform an actual article search in PubMed. PubMed will only retrieve articles that have been assigned the muscles MeSH term. In general, it is best to search each MeSH term separately and then combine them. The next tutorial, Combining Searches, will demonstrate how to combine individual MeSH searches. So far, we have only addressed the muscle part of our muscle tear topic. I'm going to clear my search builder box and my search box and now do a search for tear. The MeSH terms suggested for tear show how one term can have very different meanings. Tear can also mean tear, which we are clearly not interested in for this search. This is a perfect example of a keyword phrase that, if entered directly into the PubMed search box without using MeSH, would have retrieved many irrelevant articles on tears. From reading the definitions, we can see that the most relevant MeSH term for this list on our topic is lacerations. Before we add lacerations to the search builder, let's click on lacerations so I can show you a few more helpful features of the MeSH database. The MeSH database gives you several other search options when you click on a MeSH term. From this screen, you can search by subheadings or narrower aspects of a term. So for example, if we were looking for articles on the prevention and control of lacerations, we could check the box next to prevention and control, and then click Add to Search Builder. Also from this page, you can tell PubMed that you only want articles for which this topic is a major focus. Further down on this page, you will see a hierarchy of MeSH terms, which is sometimes called a tree. The current MeSH term is bolded to show where it falls in that hierarchy. This can be very helpful when you are narrowing or broadening a search. For example, if we weren't finding any articles using the MeSH terms laceration and muscles, we could look at using wounds and injuries instead of lacerations. Similarly, if there were MeSH terms listed under lacerations, we could search using one of those terms to narrow our search. Keep these search options in mind as you do your own searches. Let's return to our current search on muscle tears. I'm going to uncheck the box next to prevention and control and delete this text from the search builder since that doesn't apply to our present search. If you wish to add the main MeSH term to the search builder from this page, all you have to do is click Add to Search Builder. There's no checkbox next to laceration, so there's no need to check anything. As with the muscles term, now we can click Search PubMed to perform an article search in PubMed.